this is the world's largest beetle, and this is my finger. And in this video, I'll be putting to the test how strong these beetles really are. And I'll also be showing you the craziest centipede species, insane alien-looking bugs, and so many other cool insects, starting with an assassin bug.
Assassin bugs. That sounds deadly. It's because they kind of are kind of cool.
So I let these assassin bugs loose into a little enclosure I built for them, and now you can get a clear look. What makes these creatures so cool is if you look here, they have this weird sharp piece. Now this is called a rostrum. And using it, they can pierce into their prey, inject a special kind of digestive venom into the prey, then using the rostrum, they slurp the inside of the prey up like a smoothie. It's insane stuff. And as you can see, I have multiple of these guys because I got a species that are able to live and hunt together.
You probably see why they're called assassin bugs. So let's feed them a cricket and document their hunting.
I knew this wasn't going to last long because assassin bugs are some of the best hunters. And I was right. Immediately, this cricket happened to climb up the very piece of bark that all the assassin bugs were hiding. And one of them was on the lookout and instantly spotted the cricket. Now it was time to hunt. Like real assassins who move stealthily, assassin bugs do the same. And this guy extremely slowly inched his target, and as the gap closed, the assassin awaited the perfect opportunity to pounce onto the cricket. Was now in the grasp of the assassin. Right away, you can see the rostrum that pierced into the cricket. The inside of this cricket is now being turned into a juicy for this assassin bug to slurp up. Yep. Sounds yummy.
Alright, let me get this lid on. I don't want these guys biting me in my sleep or anything. I finally got one, even though they're all extremely venomous, but oh boy, let me show you this guy.
Yeah, I didn't get a small one either.
I finally got one, even though they're all extremely venomous, but oh boy, let me show you this guy.
Yeah, I didn't get a small one either. I got one of the largest species in the United States. Because right away he started to try and climb the sides of the container to escape. And as you can tell, these guys are pretty evil, because right away he started to try and climb the sides of the container to escape. Which I definitely These guys usually live in desert environments, so we're going to use a bit of sand for this enclosure, but also a solid mix of dirt and other natural stuff, because it's actually what gives them the best conditions in their enclosure. Then we want to give this guy some nice natural stuff to hide under, and finally a couple skulls in here to signify how deadly these guys are to other insects.
Alright, let's get this centipede in the enclosure. I get to show you guys how insane of a pet they are. Let me get him in this enclosure.
Now these guys usually live in desert environments, so we're going to use a bit of sand for this enclosure, but also a solid mix of dirt and other natural stuff, because it's actually what gives them. Anyways, this dude immediately got to walk. Then we want to give this guy some nice natural stuff to hide under, and finally a couple skulls in here. They're called centipedes because centa means 100, and they basically got like 100 legs. But not exactly 100, because I actually did count how many legs this guy had, and it was only 40. So yeah, their name is a lie. It's not 100, but I mean, it's still a lot.
It's so cool to watch these guys walk around, but it's even cooler to watch them eat. So you already know. I got it.
Anyways, this dude immediately got to walking around his enclosure, and what makes these guys so cool is obviously interesting. I dropped the cricket directly next to the centipede's face, but thankfully for the cricket, the centipede was distracted, and so the cricket not exactly 100, because I actually did and kind of just this guy had, and it was, and then he kind of just started to write it like a lie. It's not 100, but you gotta be careful because this train
is so cool to watch these guys walk around, but it's even cooler to watch them.
And I was correct, because only 30 seconds later, the centipede once again came across the cricket, and this time things immediately were interesting. So I dropped the cricket, started to follow in the direction the cricket face. So I also followed the centipede with my camera, and that's when I saw the straight past his face, and this time the centipede made his attack. And then he kind of started to ride it like a train. As I looked around, you gotta be careful because this train is, well, it's definitely about to escape. Because he was now in the grass. And I was correct. This is only 30 seconds later, the centipede once again came across the cricket. And this time, even though you are a little bit creepy, it's actually the centipede started to follow in the direction the cricket ran. And so I also followed the centipede with my camera, and that's when I saw the two met again. And this time the centipede made his attack. The cricket tried to escape through the logs, but if I had to, I would just say it's a very tickly. Pretty clear to see each one of the legs on the millipede now is almost of this insane, which lets it get a really good of the desert and what's getting standing on. But yeah, good job, centipede. Even though you are a little bit creepy, I didn't get some lame millipede for this video. I balled out and got the most massivest millipede of all time, called a giant African millipede, which yeah, isn't really a very creative name. They just kind of said it's giant, where it's from, and that it's a millipede. But yeah, I'm not gonna complain. I guess it's easy to remember.
Now, there's just one problem, because the place I bought this from specifically said in the description, do not use cocoa fiber. Now, if you didn't know, cocoa fiber is basically like the holy grail of dirt for terrarium builders. It's just like a special kind of dirt that holds humidity very well, I guess. But yeah, it's like unheard of to not use this. Oh my gosh, the sensation of like these, oh my gosh, the sensation of like these strong
cocoa fiber was all I had. I drove to the greatest store of all time. If I had to, I would just say it's a very, if I had to, I would just say it's a dirt. Each one is a leg cocoa fiber. Each one is also on the millipede stuff, which like wood chip, which lets it standing on. It's just such standing on the millipede tank. It's just such a weird
which I'll show you very soon.
So when I got back home, I started mixing together all my new dirt materials. All these materials I chose are specifically designed to hold just as much moisture as the cocoa fiber, if not more, which as you can see, makes this super duper moisty.
All right, it's perfect that it's now super wet because if it was too dry, the millipede would not survive very long. They dry out super easily. So yeah, I'll have to spray this thing a lot to make sure it's always nice and moist.
But since we have to keep this so wet, mold might actually grow on the sides of the enclosure. That's where my secret ingredient comes in.
I got springtails. Now, if you've seen my other videos, you probably don't think it's that cool, but bruh, I mean, I still think they're cool, okay? Be free, boys.
Yeah, springtails are just these super tiny white bugs that will go around and clean up mold if it grows. So yeah, they're perfect. Finally, I just put in some tiny bits of cork bark around to decorate the place and add some cover.
There we go. This is a fantastical millipede enclosure. Let's go ahead and get this guy inside.
You see, I didn't just get some lame millipede. You see, I didn't just get some lame out and got the most eyeballed out and got the most anyways, after he felt a giant he uncurled up a giant and got the creative name. Isn't really a giant name. It's not really much to talk about with you guys, unfortunately. I'm not gonna play that. Just walk around. Yeah, I'm not gonna play myself. The main thing that makes that cool and also similar to centipedes is the crazy amount of the average millipede has way more legs than a centipede. As you can see, like very nice. Yeah, I got just like terrarium enclosure for like 30 for terrarium. Eventually, once you just like a special kind of dirt, it's like unheard of. It's like unheard of. And he'll basically just chill there for like 90% of his life. So this cocoa fiber was all I had. I drove to the greatest store I had. I drove to the greatest store of all time. And there I got a special kind of dirt that is not cocoa fiber dirt that is not cocoa fiber. I also got some wood chip. And the reason I say that is like wood chip and a bit of straight up has the body and claws of a scorpion. So when I got back home, I started mixing together all my home. I started mixing together all my materials I chose are specifically designed. All I chose are specifically designed. Cocoa fiber, cocoa fiber, it's not more, which as you can see, makes this perfect that is now super wet. If it was too dry, the millipede, I don't know what it was too dry, the millipede, to be honest, the reason it has vinegar in its name is because this creature has the ability to keep this so wet. Mold might actually grow so wet that mold might actually grow. That's where my secret ingredient. Spray all over the ground, actually lining them.
If you've seen my other videos, you probably know. If you've seen my other videos, you probably know. I'll be showing you guys exactly what that actually is. Let's go ahead and
springtails are just these super tiny white bugs. Are just these round tiny white bugs that will go around. Thankfully, hypermicroscope. Finally, I just put in some tiny bits of. But yeah, finally I about 1/3 of the way up. And then I spliced some.
This is a fantastic. There we go. This is a fantastic greenery enclosure. Let's go ahead and
I love this stuff because while it might look pretty dry right now, all it needs is a anyways after he felt comfortable enough, he uncurled a ball and got to now. There's not really much to talk about with these guys. There's not really much to talk about when these guys walk around. They kind of just walk around. The main thing that makes you also the main thing that makes centipedes and also is similar to centipedes is the average millipede has a way more average millipede has a way more legs than a centipede. I got to wander around the enclosure. Yeah, I got to wander around the enclosure for like 30 minutes. But eventually, once he feels under the floor, like drop the water and he'll basically just chill there for like 90 of his life. Chill there for like 90% of his life.
Let me get a water dish. That guy was thirsty. He instantly went and tried to get some water. So I'm just gonna go put that one nice in the corner.
So yeah, I filled that up with a bit of water.
This is the closest thing to a
you want to make sure the water dishes are very shallow.
And it's extremely cool. I'll show you why.
If the water dish was too deep, they might fall in and drown. And the reason I say that, but anyways, my guy was having a lot of fun exploring. It straight up has the body and
alright, now I want to check out if this guy's gonna try that looks like maybe he'll even shoot his acid. I don't know, but they are nocturnal, so yeah, I mean, he might not even eat at all. But you already know, I got
probably the weirdest thing about this creature is in its name, because it's called a vinegaroon, and if you separate the words in there, there's vinegar
some action could theoretically I don't know what the part of its name means, to be honest, but the reason it has vinegar in its name is you'd probably know that they has the ability when not eaten during the day. Yeah, they'd rather let shoot a special acid type of vinegar out of them to spray all over this vinegaroon. It was a different story, so right after a minute of the cricket standing next to him, I know
and I'll be showing you guys exactly
exactly what that looks like. Let's get him in his enclosure so we can show it off.
That means this vinegaroon was in hunting mode, and the next time the thankfully hiking I noticed the vinegaroon used his little antenna to locate the location of the way of the cricket, and then I stepped over pieces of wood, but unfortunately, this time I wanted to add some greenery, so I tore a bit later. I noticed that the vinegaroon had found a little water dish. While it might look pretty dry right now, all it needs is a nice little spray bath, and I guess he was getting a bit more of a drink too, but the cricket was directly as long as I keep this enclosure. And when the two creatures got a little bit closer, the vinegaroon once again struck and missed, but this time he was not going to give up and chased the cricket down to finally get a hold of it, all while splashing around in the water. And yeah, immediately after Bro now had it inside, he ran straight up to the glass to get a nice little drink of water, started devouring it. It's pretty cool to see him using his claws to shovel the drops of water.
Unfortunately, he didn't use his acid or vinegar spray thing, and that's because I think they only use that for defense. And obviously, I don't want to stress this guy out. That guy was thirsty. He instantly do it, but I will show you guys this very cool footage of them doing it. Watch this.
So basically, like I was saying earlier, they arched their abdomen and vinegaroon. You want to make sure their water dishes are very shallow. The vinegar sprays not super smart. If their water dish was spray out, and it also has absolutely insane aim. But anyways, my guy was having a lot of fun exploring around his new tweezers that was holding it.
Now I want to check out if this guy's going to try and eat. Maybe he'll even shoot his acid. I don't know, but they are nocturnal, so yeah, I mean, he might not even eat at all. But you already know, I got a little cricket. Cricket's led me, obviously.
I have the largest beetle species in the world. I dropped a cricket directly next to this one with insane action could theoretically happen, and this one that's pretty tiny. My other videos with nocturnal animals.
Now I'll be starting with the smallest beetle and testing the weakest objects in this guy's mouth. As the beetles get bigger, the objects will get bigger too. Until at the end, I'm going to be putting my finger in this guy's mouth.
It was a different story, because right after a minute of the cricket standing next to him, I noticed he actually started to spread a rainbow cricket. Well, it's the smallest beetle I have. That means this vinegaroon was in hunting mode. The next time the cricket came by, I noticed the vinegaroon uses little antenna to locate the location like this. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And I already built this guy a little enclosure, but unfortunately, he also, even though this place is pretty small, however, that's a bit later, I like it. The vinegaroon had found a little water dish I put in there for him. He then proceeded to walk into the water,
this guy is a little
and I guess he was getting a bit more of a drink too, but the cricket was directly next to him. And when the two creatures got a little bit closer, because while they got their mandibles once again, this is missed, but this time their mouth is actually under the mandibles right down to finally get a hold of it. The reason they have mandibles is so in the wild, the males can fight each other, and whoever wins the fight gets to go home with the female. And yeah, he just started devouring it to jelly right in front of this guy. And these guys love sweet stuff like jelly or fruit, and in fact, I think this jelly is banana flavored, which is one of the beetle's favorite foods. So I thought this dude was just going to start devouring it up right away, but in fact, he seemed kind of defensive and actually started attacking. Basically, like I was saying earlier, they after really kind of started to shove it in his face. I think he got a little taste of it, and then he seemed very happy. Pretty cool to see it spray out, and it also has and it's actually very cool to see how like here the vinegaroon was able to really just suck on and hit the tweezers that was holding it.
So basically, let's close this for now, and let's actually go and get out our second beetle, which is this guy. And he has
I put a lid on this enclosure, and boom, this is called a giraffe stag beetle. So yeah, this is also a stag beetle like the one before, but a slightly different version with these way larger mandibles that if you actually look at them are also way sharper. I have the largest beetle species in the world. Way stronger. But I also have this one with, of course, I already got sharp mandibles, and this one that's pretty tiny.
But now for the object for this guy to crush, I'll be starting with the smallest beetle and testing the weakest objects in this guy's mouth. As the beetles get bigger, the objects will get bigger. So I didn't waste
any time, and I just went
at the end. I'm going to be putting my finger in this guy's mouth.
And he sort of started to close his mandibles on it, but I'm not going to lie, it was a kind of lackluster effort. I even tried putting it in at different angles to see if he could actually crush it, but yeah, he wasn't really doing a good job. So I decided to give him an easier object to crush, a paper towel. There's not that many animals that have a purple color like this, so yeah, it's pretty cool. And I already built this guy yet again, even tried putting it right at the super sharp pretty small. That's exactly how they like it, because they kind of just chill around all day.
Bruh, nah, these beetles got the object I'm going to test with this guy is a little pack of jelly. Technically, you can't even bite through cardboard or even a paper towel.
Now, beetles like this are
what are these mandibles for? You can't even bite through this
here. These
are actually insane creatures. They're super cool.
Their mouth is actually under the mandibles right here.
Anyways, what I'm really excited about is
the reason they have mandibles is so in the wild, the males can fight each other, and whoever wins the fight gets to go home with the female beetle. Pretty interesting. But anyways, I went and finally time for the craziest and also love sweet stuff like jelly or fruit. Hercules. I think this jelly is banana flavored, which is one hard it was for me to get my hands on one of these. So I thought this dude was just gonna start devouring it up right away, but in fact he seemed kind of defensive and actually started attacking it with his mandibles. These guys live really kind of started to shove it in his face, and unlike other beetles in this video, and they literally have fur on them. Because he actually, you know, they're exotic, and it's actually very mentioning they have these absolutely bonkers mandibles. Because what?
So
the mandibles are basically
for now, and let's actually go and get out. And I got a pretty solid sized enclosure for this guy, but I'll once again be doing this test outside the tank since
this is called a giraffe. Before I put my finger in the mandibles, I first got something very close to a finger, but a slightly different version with these way larger.
Yeah, I got a carrot because you know whenever I see videos of people like testing their fingers and stuff like Carter or Windows or something, they always use a carrot first as like a good representation of what it's like before a finger. Imagine he just chops. All right, now for the object for this guy to crush, I've got a little piece of cardboard. Oh, also I'm gonna take the beetle out of the.
Anyways, I went and put the carrot in the mandibles, so I didn't waste any time, and I just guys, to be honest, I was kind of expecting this to rip through the carrot mandibles on it, but I'm not gonna lie, it was a kind of lackluster effort. I even tried putting it in at different angles to see if he could actually crush it, and yeah, he wasn't really doing a good job. So I decided to give him an easier object to crush, a paper towel. Surely he could at least make a hole through this with his insanely sharp mandibles, but yet again, I'm gonna be completely honest, this basically felt like, yeah, he didn't really make much of it.
It's a little bit of a pinch, but it is not these beetles. You might be thinking, intimidating mandibles. This thing is so weak, and well, I actually kind of knew it was going to be cardboard or even a paper towel, bro. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. What are these mandibles for? You can't even bite through this stuff. No, I'm just kidding. No, these are actually insane creatures. They're super cool. Let me get this guy back in his enclosure. Anyways, what I'm really excited about is testing this bad boy's bite. Well, I mean, I'm not actually that excited. I do got to put my finger in here, but let's just do this.
Yep, it's finally time for the craziest and also largest beetle in the world. A Hercules beetle.
You guys have no idea how hard it was for me to get my hands on one of these. They were out of stock everywhere, and I had to message so many people, but I finally did. It was super expensive, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, these guys live in the South American rainforests, and unlike other beetles in this video, they literally have fur on them. Yeah, that's how you know they're exotic. But that's not even mentioning they have these absolutely bonkers mandibles. Cause of what? The mandibles are basically like double the size of the body.
And I got a pretty solid sized enclosure for this guy, but I'll once again be doing this test outside the tank since they're so massive.
Now, before I put my finger in the mandibles, I first got something very close to a finger to find out the real damage I was about to face.
Yeah, I got a carrot, because you know, whenever I see videos of people like testing their fingers and stuff like Carter or Windows or something, they always use a carrot first as like a good representation of what it's like before a finger. Bro, imagine he just chops clean through this carrot, and then I'm gonna have to put my finger in right after that. Jeez.
Anyways, I went and put the carrot in the mandibles without wasting any time. And guys, to be honest, I was kind of expecting this to rip through the carrot because they just look vicious. But after moving the carrot over tons of different parts of the mandibles, the most the beetle did was give a very light pinch to the carrot. And yeah, all it took was a bit of wiggling. I just put my finger in, found the perfect position to get pinched in the best way, and then the beetle started to close his horn mandibles down a bit. But I'm gonna be completely honest, this basically felt like nothing.
I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of a pinch, but it is not bad at all. Now you might be thinking, bruh, Terrarium, what was that? This thing is so weak, and well, I actually kind of knew it was gonna be that weak, I'm not gonna lie. You see,
I just found probably the most alien-looking creature on Earth. It is literally a mutant creature with the mouth of a spider, the body of a scorpion, and claws that look like saws. And that's not even mentioning that it has some of the weirdest and creepiest behavior out of any animal ever.
I don't know. Let's just put some food in here, though.
And after doing some research, it turns out that tailless whip scorpions absolutely love crickets. And thankfully, I always have a bag of crickets since all my favorite pets eat them. And immediately after putting them in, they actually all looked very happy. These stupid crickets really thought that this was their new home, and they were just going around eating moss. Well, little did they know that this home actually belongs to my tailless whip scorpion. And unfortunately for one of the crickets, it made a wrong turn. It walked straight into the crevice of the rock that the alien creature was sitting inside. I thought for sure that cricket was a goner, but miraculously, about a minute later, it walked out the rock unscathed. A little later, I saw the alien creature in a different spot hanging onto a wall. And just like before, a cricket walked straight up to it. And in fact, this cricket was extra stupid. He started to walk right in front of the alien's literal mouth. But for some reason, the tailless whip scorpion was not eating it at all. Okay, it's the next day and I figured out why the alien creature in here isn't eating. It's because this species is partly nocturnal, and as you can see, I just have massive studio lights shining super brightly on here. I guess he just doesn't want to eat in the light. So anyways, I want to let this guy just kind of adjust to the new home for about a week, and I guess I'll just come back then. I just found this video where a guy named Coyote Peterson lets a black widow crawl all over his arm. Watching this made me think that maybe black widows weren't as vicious as I thought, and maybe I could keep one as a pet. I guess this should be the Black Widow. And I genuinely think this is the most venomous pet I've kept on the channel. But anyways, let's go open this up. So I brought it to my table and opened the package up. After carefully taking out the packing material, I then took out the container that had a Black Widow spider inside. Oh, nah, here it is. A literal Black Widow. But I did just figure something out because apparently I didn't order just one of these. If you look down in this box, I actually ordered 2 more. Yeah, apparently I accidentally placed the order for a 3-pack. So now I have 3 Black Widows. But I wanted to take a closer look, so I opened up a container to let a spider out. And I guess it was a bit dizzy because instantly it fell on its back to reveal that iconic red hourglass shape, which warns you that this spider is nothing to mess around with. It has a potent bite. Oh shoot, 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 it's trying to escape. Put it in the container, okay. Whoa. I gotta be more careful with these things, man. But these 3 spiders aren't gonna spin webs in these tiny containers. They were gonna need a proper enclosure, which I needed to build by first covering a bunch of spray foam with dirt and wood chip stuff to make the background. But in the middle, I put in this rock background and spray foamed normal rocks to it. You see, I'm gonna separate the enclosure into a forest, a cave, and a home interior to see where Black Widows like to make webs and hunt the most. For the home interior part, I got a piece of styrofoam and painted a brick pattern onto it to, you know, make it look like a brick wall like a lot of homes have, and so I spray foamed that in, and the background was now complete. And now we gotta do the web building bases. And basically what that means is we just put sticks and stuff so the spiders can spin their webs in here. To start, I'm gonna lay down a simple substrate across the entire enclosure that I'll be able to customize to each environment. But first of all, the forest, and as I'm sure you can imagine, we're gonna put some wood in here, just enough on the 2 sides for a solid web to be made in between. And then I'm even gonna glue some moss coming down from the ends of the branches so it sort of looks like leaves on a tree. And then I'm gonna get this bag of leaves that I bought, and don't ask me why I didn't just pick them up from outside. I don't know why I bought these. But anyways, with those, I scattered them along the bottom, so it looked like a forest floor with all the fallen leaves everywhere. And last but not least, I got some tiny rocks and scattered them around too. Just a few, because I gotta save most for the cave. And speaking of the cave, we're gonna start right away by laying down some rocks, because that's pretty much all they got. But as you can see in this photo, there's actually a bunch of these pointy rocks called stalagmites. And I think they would work perfectly in my enclosure, so let me get some. Alright, so I've got a big rock and a hammer right there, so I guess let me just try to carve some of those stalagmites out of this. So I guess I'll just go and try and hit it. I don't really know if this is gonna work, but you're gonna break. Hello? Eventually, after a bit of hitting, I got a few pieces that when connected sorta looked like stalagmites, so I went and attached them together with spray foam. And then using more spray foam, I stuck them all into place pointing up in the cave section of the enclosure. Finally, I went and sprinkled some normal colored rocks around and then some different colored rocks around because, yeah, we literally just put rocks everywhere for this section. Alright, once this spray foam dries, I'm gonna go in and paint it, but for now, let's work on the home interior section. And to start, I've got this carpet-like material, which I'm gonna cut out to shape, and then I'm just gonna go and put it in there, and boom. Now I need to get some mini home furniture in here that the spider will be able to spin his webs from. And my only idea for how I can get that is to build it with some Legos. So yeah, let's get building, baby. First of all, using black bricks, I stacked them up to make this little lampshade thing. Then with some red bricks, I made a tiny little couch. Now a chair made of brown bricks. Finally, I just took the rest of my bricks to make a randomly color assorted red and white shelf. Yeah, I'm a master builder, as you can tell. Anyways, I went and put each of those inside and even got some little dollhouse furniture to fill in the dead space, and boom, shakalaka. That's what I call a home house interior. I know a lot of Black Widows love to live inside houses, so one of them should definitely like this place. But the next step on the list is to get some plants. put the 2 land plants in the forest section, which as you can see, I ended up getting a beautiful red plant to match the red on black widows. Then I took apart the plant from Home Depot and glued the vines coming down from the top of the cave section. Finally, I glued some more moss all along the forest section because I felt like it wasn't green enough. And then I added a bit of this dead type of fern moss along parts of the cave because I felt like it matched pretty well.
Oh, and I almost forgot the most important part, the stupid AI generated pictures for the house interior.
So I cut them out and glued them along sides of the brick wall. There were many great works of art, like a black widow flying in the sky with wings, a black widow dancing in a disco room, and a black widow eating a male after mating, which yes, they actually do that in the wild. Now you see in the wild, black widows are actually cannibals towards other female black widows, which means my 3 black widows cannot be able to access each other, or, you know, they'd probably eat each other.
So I've got these acrylic sheets which should act as good separators.
So I went and measured them to size and then cut them out.
There we go, that fits perfectly. And now last but not least, I'm gonna put in one of these reptile foggers.
Basically, when you turn this dial, it spits a bunch of fog out the end of this tube. Black widows love a high humidity to make their web, so this should encourage them to do that quickly. And while I would say this enclosure is now 100% complete, but that does mean I gotta actually let the black widows loose in here, which I'm kind of scared to do, but let's just do it.
And as you can see, I've got the 3 black widows in their own little containers. So I've got the first one. Let's let this guy loose into the forest. Then I'm gonna put the second one into the cave section like that. Then finally, the 3rd black widow in the home interior section.
And while all the spiders were now in their new home, I took an interest to the one in the forest area. You see, this one immediately started to crawl all around her new home and even made her way up to the roof of the enclosure. There on the roof, you can see she started to walk around with a little strand of silk coming out the end of the abdomen. She was already building a web. Spiders, of course, do this to catch prey, and black widows in specific have some of the strongest silk out of any spider, which is somehow produced in these little silk glands that they have. Anyways, I left the black widow to continue with that, and the next day I came back and opened up the top of the enclosure. You could see the area where she was constructing the web, and now she was hiding in this little crevice.
So much for building this enclosure. I built all this forest area just for the spider to make her web right in this little area. Well, at least she has something, because that means now I can try and feed her a bunch of different types of food to see which they like the most, starting with mealworms.
Now I wanted to start small, and as you can see, these mealworms I bought are absolutely minuscule. They're barely the size of the tip of my finger, but hopefully the spider will still like them. Using some tweezers, I dropped a mealworm straight into the spider's web, and immediately it started to squirm around to try and escape. But spider webs are specifically designed to keep little insects like this stuck in them. All the wiggling around made the black widow come awake, and soon it even crawled out, only to walk right by the mealworm and run away. In fact, this black widow tried to make a grand escape and even webbed down the side of my table onto the floor.
Oh, no, do not go under the table, do not go under the table.
Anyways, I ended up scooping it into a container where I then dropped another mealworm in front of him, and once again, he didn't want to eat it.
Okay, well clearly this black widow's not trying to eat any mealworms, so instead I've got a bag of some tiny little crickets.
And these I'm gonna feed to the second black widow in the cave area. Now if you remember, I put this spider in the enclosure on this little plastic lid where I already had a web, and since putting it in 2 days ago, it still hasn't moved at all. It might be dead actually. But anyways, I put in some crickets to see if it would eat, and literally right away one of the crickets jumped towards the spider and jolted him awake, which I guess was a good sign because the spider was now finally moving. But when I tried to bring the cricket back, it scared the spider and it ran away into the cave. I almost lost track of the spider until I came across her again on top of the enclosure where she had somehow escaped to. I tried to feed her a cricket once again, but she just was not having it, so I scooped her back into the plastic container.
Well, it looks like this black widow is also not eating, which usually would mean I would go test the third and final food source, which was gonna be just crickets, but a bit bigger. But I kind of have bad news because I don't really have a spider to feed these to.
Yes, you heard that right. Since putting the third spider into the house interior section 2 days ago, I haven't seen it at all. It literally escaped my enclosure, and now not only did I have one missing, but I also had 2 more that weren't eating.
This is genuinely the worst idea I've had for a video. Like, pet black widow. Like, what am I thinking? One has escaped and is literally crawling around my garage. There's only one way I can make this up for the content. I gotta let the black widow crawl on my arm, just like I saw Coyote Peterson do at the start of the video. So let's not waste any time. Let me get my mom in here. Hi, Mom.
Hi.
All right, I'm bringing you in here today because I got a special job for you. As you know, I always keep the weirdest pets. And can you guess what pet's in here based off the decorations?
Oh my gosh. Is it a black widow?
Yeah, it's a black widow.
No, it's not.
Yeah, you see those paintings on the wall?
Yeah, I do.
A black widow? Isn't that cool?
No.
Why? Okay, I got them onto this little tray for you. And basically, you can see it right there. What do you
No,
think?
no.
Say hi.
No. I wouldn't keep that as a pet.
Why? It's cute. Well, I did say I have a job for you. So can you hold the camera?
Oh my gosh, you are not gonna put this on you.
Here, hold the camera. All right, as you see, we got the black widow in a nice little clear container. And I'm just gonna start by literally putting it on my sleeve like this until it crawls out.
You see, the plan is to have it crawl onto my sleeve, and then from there, it'll crawl onto my hand. So I basically just waited until it started to crawl out.
I have to be super calm right now.
But as you could have guessed, of course things went wrong. Because as you can see, it just started to grasp onto the edge of the container and not let go at all. I was probably making it pretty mad, so I quickly transferred it to a piece of cardboard.
Okay, so I decided to just put them onto a piece of cardboard, and I'll let them crawl out here.
And after gathering together a bunch of courage, I just moved the cardboard in front of my hand to let it happen.
Okay, I'm gonna do it in 3, 2, 1.
Lord Father, Jesus, please. Oh God, Lord Father, please. Okay, it's time to go off. It's time to go off, Lord Father.
Oh,
Oh, that was so nerve-wracking. Oh my gosh, how did you feel doing that?
the heart was going 500 beats a second.
Well, there you have it. Probably the stupidest pet I've ever kept. Anyways, have a good day, or night, or afternoon, or morning, and goodbye, and subscribe too.
Okay, I just got this in my car, and I've got to take this home quickly to make sure the snake inside is healthy. And if it is, I'm going to revamp this trash into a dream home to give the snake inside his best life. I've got no time to waste, let's go.
After getting it home, the first step was to, of course, remove the snake from the enclosure.
So I have this tool to grab it. I really hope the snake in there isn't venomous. I have to be super careful.
I obviously didn't want to get my hands anywhere near this enclosure since the snake could be anywhere, so I used the tool to try and take out as many of the objects as I could. And it didn't take long until when I moved this piece of paper towel, I saw a glimpse of the snake under it. Thankfully, after seeing it move, it looked like it was still in good health, so I picked it up to take a closer inspection.
Okay, come on, snake. Let me get you in this temporary tank real quick.
First, to start this enclosure transformation process, step number 1 is to take out the ugly remaining decorations.
Okay, I have no idea why there's all this random stuff in here, like a giant fake plant. This is not at all what sand boas need.
So of course I gathered all of that up and threw it straight into the garbage bin where it belongs.
Then that leaves us with this. This is so bad. There's just paper towels as the floor and a random pile of dirt. Yeah, sand boas need at least a couple inches of substrate for the floor so they can go in it and burrow. So this is definitely not good enough. Yeah, let's get this out of here. And like, why is there just random like red stains on this? Yeah, let's get it.
After taking the remaining dirt out, I had to finally get out a little razor and scrape off all these little piles of glue and dirt off the wall. I have no idea why they were there, but they're ugly, so they gotta go.
Well, we're back to just the tank now, and this is where things get fun.
You see, the first step to build the snake's dream home is to create the background. And to do that, I used some animal-safe spray foam to cover the entire back of the glass so I could attach rocks and sticks. You see, I want to create a mix of a desert and forest in this enclosure to sort of mimic the snake's natural habitat. And to complete that look, I covered the remaining foam in some sand and other foresty decorations like dirt.
All right, this background's looking pretty nice and foresty, but for step 2 of making this a dream home is to put the floor and decorations in.
But before I can put any dirt in here, I first have to fill it with a bunch of these clay balls, and then cover those with some window screen.
Now, if you're a terrarium expert, you already know what I'm doing. Basically, what I've built here will allow water to pass through just like that, but not dirt, essentially creating a drainage layer in here which will stop mold from growing. So yeah, that's pretty good.
Now for the substrate mix that goes on top, we're only going to use a little bit of sand. You see, despite being called a sand boa, it's actually better for the species to have this wood chip stuff called cypress bedding make up most of the floor. But I also mixed in some other brown foresty stuff to make it a little bit softer. Finally, I poured a few inches of that inside and covered it in a thin layer of just dirt to make it less ugly.
Now for the decorations, and as you can see, I got a ton of stuff, but I want to make this interesting to watch, so start this super cool, epic building decorations montage. Let's go. Yeah, that was pretty cool. But now you're probably noticing that the left and right sides of the enclosure are looking pretty barren and empty. Well, that's because step number 3 is to put DIY decorations there.
First up, the left side. Here, I want to build a giant massive tree trunk that looks like it has leaves and stuff coming off of it. And to do that, I went and gathered all the wood I had in my house into a big container so I could easily access it.
This is all just leftover wood from previous videos. Yeah, sometimes I buy a little bit too much, but today it's gonna have a use.
Now, I didn't have much of an idea of how I would do this, but I figured I would just start by using spray foam to connect little pieces of the wood together, and then I continued to stack the wood up to make it look like the trunk of a tree, and then I stuck some branches onto it.
All right, this is a little bit looking like a tree trunk. I still gotta go and cover this exposed spray foam, but for now, check this out. It's just a bunch of carpet moss. I'm basically just gonna attach it to the tree so it looks like there's a bunch of leaves coming off of it. Should look pretty good. Let's do that.
And so using my hot glue gun, that's exactly what I did. After putting the moss all over it, I covered most of the exposed spray foam with some dirt and then glued a couple actual leaves hanging from the tree.
All right, this looks just like a tree and we're done. Oh. Yeah. Anyways, that means we can move to the right side DIY decoration. And to start that, I've got the base right here.
This is a normal cave decoration that you could buy for snakes to hide in. But I ended up getting out some real rocks and using more spray foam to attach them all around the cave. You know, I didn't want it to just look like a normal boring decoration that I bought. So yeah, this made it look nice and natural.
All right, there we go. A nice little rock cave. And as you can see, it's pretty deep and dark in there. Wait, let me see if I can turn on my flashlight. Oh yeah, I got the light on and look at that. You can just see down in there. It's nice and pretty cozy. How about the snake's gonna like to go and hide in there?
But now for the final step to finishing this foresty dream home is to get some plants.
All right, and as usual, I don't have any plants, so let's go to the plant store. Okay, I'm at the plant store, and as you can see, they got a nice, beautiful selection here. But I actually just need to pick out, like, the smallest ones I could find. Okay, here's the small section. Let me just pick out some of this grass stuff. Oh, I'm gonna get this little one here. And, oh, man, I was just gonna get 2, but I'm just gonna let myself go crazy. Let's get this one, too.
After driving home, I got the plants out and put them around in the enclosure. But after doing that, I still felt like there wasn't enough greenery, so I got some of the carpet moss from earlier and scattered that around, too.
All right, and now to finish this off, I just want to put a nice bulb right there, and then put a UVB bulb right next to it. And as you can see, it looks pretty good. Got those going.
As you can see in the basking spot under the heat lamp, it was a nice 90 degrees. And over in the cooler side of the enclosure, it was about 75 degrees, which is perfect for the snake, so it can decide how hot or cold it wants to be. Well, anyways, this enclosure has been completely transformed from that pretty trash home into a chunk of nature that I think the snake is gonna enjoy a lot.
All right, well, I guess let me just take these paper towels out. I've just been keeping the Kenyan sand boa in this temporary enclosure, and oh, look at you. All right, so I'm just gonna go and pick them up just like this, and welcome to your new home, boy. I hope you like it. Oh, and he's just already going straight into the dirt. All right, I guess I'll see you later, man.
Yeah, when I said these guys like to burrow in the floor, I really meant it. I don't know how long it's been since this guy's had the chance to be able to do it, but you can tell he was loving it.
Bro, I don't even know where the snake went. Oh, wait, no, you can see its tail right there, but other than that, it's completely just disappeared.
But if you look closely in this footage, you can see the dirt slightly moving around from where this guy was digging underground. I'm happy I was able to give this guy a new home. It was super fun building it. Bed bugs are tiny parasites that hide in your bed and suck your blood while you sleep. Bed bugs.
Now, I don't think these are meant to be kept as pets, but hey, $20, what could go wrong? Let's just buy these.
So in this video, I'm gonna build a home for them, document exactly what it's like to have bed bugs as pets, and literally feed them my own blood at the end of the video. Yes, I'm not kidding. I don't know why I'm gonna do this to myself. Anyways, until the bed bugs got delivered, I got out an enclosure to build their home.
Now, I'm pretty sure there's no documented case of anyone keeping bed bugs as a pet, so I figured out what they need myself. Yeah, all these supplies are for the bed bugs.
Anyways, first up, I started to pour some coconut fiber dirt into the enclosure for step number 1, the floor. You see, for most of the floor, we want to use this dirt material, but that's not it. We actually want to pour a layer of sand on top of it, just like this. You see, I'm doing this because bed bugs would be almost impossible to spot if they were just on dirt, but on the sand, I should be able to see them perfectly.
And I really got to make sure I keep track of every bed bug, because if they escape, let's just say I'm not going to be sleeping too well. Why am I doing this?
Anyways, I finished off the floor by creating some little sand mounds in the back that I would soon be able to cover in decorations. And speaking of decorations, for step number 2, we're gonna put in the natural decorations. For those, I got out some simple stuff like cork bark, spider wood, and some gray stones, and strategically placed them around in the sand. I even stacked a few pieces of wood in this corner and covered the top in some moss to make it look like a tree. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm an expert designer, as you could tell.
And all this stuff is gonna be perfect because bed bugs like to hide under tight little spaces just like these, which is also why they like to hide under mattresses. Yeah, it's pretty cozy under there.
To finish off the natural decorations, I planted a bit more moss around just to add some more color and bring the whole thing to life. All right, now for the next step, it's time for the artificial decorations.
And basically what that means is I literally want to build a mini bed from scratch to put in the middle of this enclosure to see if the bed bugs will prefer to hide under natural decorations or if they really just love beds. Now, of course, I'm going to put this in the middle of the enclosure, but that's not all I'm going to do. You see, the reason bed bugs love mattresses so much is because they smell like humans. So basically what I need to do is make this mini mattress smell like me. And I have the perfect idea for how to do that.
So I got out my bike helmet, lined a little towel rag along the front of it, put it on, and started to go for a bike ride. So basically, I'm just gonna ride around for like 20 or 30 minutes, and that towel I put in my helmet should absorb all the sweat, and then I could just basically squeeze it on that little mini mattress. Yeah, I'm a genius, I know. So I went on my little ride up and down some hills, you know, and when I got home, I took the rag off my helmet to see if it would work.
Okay, I think there's like a solid amount of sweat on this, so I guess let me just go and try and squeeze it on top of this. Come on, just get a little bit of sweat out. Oh, shoot. Okay, wait, that's actually a pretty good amount of sweat. Dang, wait. Okay, this is kind of nasty, I'm not gonna lie. And there we go, it just kind of looks like someone peed in the bed now, but hey, this should smell like me now.
Well, now that the mattress is done, it's time to move on to the final step, which is a DIY technology. Now you see, bed bugs are attracted to an air molecule called CO2 because it's the same molecule that humans breathe out.
And since bed bugs love that smell so much, I'm gonna build my own custom CO2 emitter right there, and then I'll test to see if the bed bugs like go flock towards the smell. I don't know, it'll be cool though.
Now to make a CO2 emitter, you first gotta get out a nice large soda bottle and pour all the soda out. Well, technically you don't have to pour it out, it's just not healthy to drink that much soda, so yeah, that's why I'm pouring it out. Anyways, then you get the empty soda bottle and fill it up with some special ingredients. First, we fill it up almost entirely with water, and then add like 2 cups of sugar. And then the final step is to add some yeast in here, which is the same thing you use to bake bread.
Basically, all those ingredients I just added are gonna react and do some science, and basically, out the end of this tube that I attached, a bunch of CO2 is just gonna come out, and yeah, I'm just gonna see if the bed bugs go and smell it or something. I don't know.
Well, the bed bug enclosure is now finished, and that means it's time to add those nasty creatures inside and be the first person to have pet bed bugs. All right, well, here they are, the bed bugs. They literally just got delivered, so thankfully they weren't sitting in the snow too long. But as you guys know, I'm not exactly too thrilled to be keeping these as a pet because, like I said, I'm literally going to let them be sucking the blood out of my arm. I don't know why I do this, man. But let me just get them in the enclosure I built for them. So I brought them to my table, cut the tape, and lifted the flaps.
Oh my gosh. I think they're inside of this thing in here. Okay, I guess let me just get this out. And bro, genuinely, if these things escape, my mom is going to be so mad.
And speaking of escape, you might be wondering, how will I prevent them from escaping, considering the enclosure I made literally doesn't have a roof? Well, I forgot one important step, escape-proofing the enclosure.
But don't worry, because I've kept ants before, and I actually got this special serum for the ants that prevents them from escaping, and I'm just hoping that it'll do the same for the bed bugs.
Basically, you just get out a little cotton ball, put some of the special serum on the end, and rub it in along the top edges of the enclosure.
Alright, now even if the bed bugs are able to climb the glass, they're gonna climb up, and then they're gonna get to this stuff, and basically it's just super slippery, so they're just gonna slide right off. And then finally, I'm just gonna put this top on it just like that. That won't actually do anything because these holes are pretty sure too big. Yeah, the bugs could probably just fit through it, but whatever.
Anyways, I got out the jar of bed bugs, opened the top of it, and dumped about half of the 10 inside of the enclosure. Immediately, one of the bed bugs started to scurry around his new home looking for cover and went straight into a dark spot under the nearest rock. But a few seconds later, I saw this bed bug, and he actually ran straight over to the little bed mattress I had made. And after crawling on it for a minute, he set up camp in a little piece of cork bark right next to it. I guess the fact that I had made the mattress smell just like me was working really well, because over the next minute, I saw 2 more of the bed bugs just chilling on the mattress too.
Dang, that's actually cool how they all just went onto this little mini mattress I made instead of all the other decorations. But to be honest, I've kind of already lost track of every single one I put in. Yeah, they're just so small.
But the reason bed bugs are so small is so they can go undetected while hiding in people's beds. And when they find a victim to suck the blood of, they can literally get more than double in size with how much they suck.
Anyways, bed bugs are nocturnal because obviously they feed on people at night. So in order to get them to suck my arm, I'm gonna bring my mom in here at night, show my new pet to her, and then get her to film me getting bit. This is not gonna be fun, but let's just go cut to then. Okay, Mom, you can come in.
Hey, bud.
Hi. Oh, that's a cool hoodie and hat you got on. Where'd you get that?
terrariumstore.com.
Oh, that's cool. All right, well, come in anyways. The reason I brought you here,
Yeah.
you haven't seen my new pet, but basically, I have another new pet to show you. Yeah, so basically, just a channel tradition, you have to guess what pet is in there based on the stuff.
I'm gonna guess. I'm thinking a spider.
A spider?
A spider.
Well, it's a bug, and I'm just gonna tell you what it is. It's, well, don't get mad at me, seriously. It's bed bugs.
No, it's not, dude.
Yes, it's pet bed bugs. That's funny.
That's not cool.
It's pretty funny. Okay.
No, dude.
Okay, so to attract the bed bugs, I built this little contraption. Basically, just take that off, and I'm just gonna pour some of this stuff. It's yeast. But basically, this is gonna have a chemical reaction in this bottle, and after I shake it up, it's basically gonna produce carbon dioxide, which is CO2. I'm just gonna leave this tube here, and we'll just see if any bed bugs come out, so you can see them. Wait. Do you see that?
Oh my god.
Wait. Right, no, there actually is one right there. Do you see that? It's like a little tiny orange thing.
Yes.
Oh, that's a bed bug.
Oh my god, you're so crazy.
Well, the good thing is you're not gonna have to deal with them because, well, I have to tell you something. You remember the other day I got a leech and I let it suck on my arm?
Yes.
I have to do that with the bed bugs.
No.
Yes.
No.
Okay,
They
well-
don't feed off of your arm.
Yeah, they suck your blood.
Oh my god, they do not.
So basically I've collected about, I think, 4 of the bed bugs in this jar. Well, I just gotta roll up my sleeve, I guess, and we're gonna feed them.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so, well, I guess let me just start. We're just gonna tip the jar like that and slowly let them crawl out. Okay, there's one on my arm right there.
Oh
Let's
my
just
god,
test it
dude.
with one.
Yeah, we're just doing one.
Just with
No,
2.
just do 2. Don't do any more than that.
That's okay. We need to get all 4
No,
of
we
them.
do not. No. Okay, put them back. That's it.
Why?
Because they're crawling and I'm not getting them anywhere else in this house.
It's okay, they'll bite me. So basically they can pick up the scent immediately of what my arm is like, and I'm pretty sure these 3 are already all biting me. This
God,
one's just
dude.
the one that hasn't bit yet.
Soon enough, all 4 were biting, and basically all I felt was a little bit of a prick. The pain wasn't anything crazy though. But over the next 10 minutes, my mom and I would watch them fill up with my blood.
All right, so I just took the camera from you, and as you can see, I think they're starting to fill up. Is this weird?
Yeah, it's super weird. Oh, you can see them fill up with blood?
Yeah, if you look closely at their bodies, like you remember how they were super thin, now they're kind of getting a little thicker, and it should start to turn red soon. Oh, they already are actually.
Disgusting.
Oh, do you see that one?
Ew.
It's starting to move.
No.
That means it's done.
Oh my god,
So
good.
basically what you do when it's done,
All of them in the jar.
it's okay, we'll get it. Don't worry.
You see, basically when they start moving, that's when they're done feeding. So I put 2 of them back in the jar since they were done. Then a couple minutes later, another one finished, and then the final one a few minutes after that.
All right, and then the last one is in its jar. We're done. That's how you feed your pet bed bugs.
Oh, right. Don't ever do this, anyone.
All right, well, I just let bed bugs suck my blood for like 10 minutes, so please just subscribe. That's all I'm asking.
Thanks for watching, everyone. If you want to watch another video, click the video on the screen. Goodbye. 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 Goodbye.
What could go wrong? Let's just buy this at the cart.
So in this video, I'm gonna build it at home, show off everything about keeping a pet cow killer, which means yes, I am going to let it crawl on my arm. If it stings me, I am going to be in. So I got out the enclosure and a bunch of desert rocks to build its home. To start, I stacked each of the rocks in this pattern that would create a canyon look in here.
Now, the reason I bought these types of rocks is because they look like the rocks in real canyons. But yeah, because they look so realistic, these rocks were very expensive. Yes, that's actually how much they costed. We don't talk about that.
You see, cow killers live in deserts in the wild, which sort of makes sense because all of the most deadly and painful animals live in the desert. Anyways, to finish the canyon look in this enclosure, I got some of this excavator sand stuff.
You see, if I add this bowl of water to this tub of the sand and, pour it in there like that, then just go and mix it up with my hand. And after a minute, it turns it into this clay substrate, which I can kind of make into a nice ball of, poop. Yes, it's kind of nasty. But basically, using this clay, I'm gonna go and stick it in between each of these rocks to kind of glue them together, and we're gonna have a nice completed canyon look in here.
Anyways, after putting that all over the rocks and letting it dry, it ended up looking pretty good. But the next step to finishing this desert is, of course, to put some sand in here. Because, deserts, they have to have sand.
But before putting the sand in, first I've got these big bags of black rocks. And apparently if I scatter this around the floor before putting the sand in, it should help absorb any extra moisture and that'll prevent any mold from growing in this desert.
Next up, I got out another container and filled it with some sand and some of this soil to make the desert substrate.
Basically, the reason why I'm using this as the substrate is because when I put the plants and cactuses inside, this soil is going to provide a lot of nutrients, so they're able to grow nice and tall, and we get a fully fledged desert in here.
So I went and poured that on top of all of the carbon and pushed it up against the rocks to make the desert floor. But as you can see, this doesn't really look like a desert because of how much dirt I added to that substrate. So I quickly poured a thin layer of just normal sand on top so it would look like a desert once again.
All right, this is already starting to look like a good cow killer enclosure, but to make it even better, it's time to add in some plants and decorations.
First, for the decorations, and that basically just means wood and rocks, because that's pretty much all deserts have, to be honest. They're pretty boring. First of all, I put some of this spider wood around the tank randomly and even used some of it to make little bridges across the canyons that the cow killer would be able to walk on. Then I got some of these longer sticks and put them on the side of the canyon to make it look like there were roots growing from it or something. Yeah, pretty cool.
But I did end up getting two cool decorations, which are right here. The first of which is these little logs, which are called cholla wood. And the reason these are a cool decoration is because cholla, it's a cool word to say, I'm not gonna lie. Oh, and also they're good because they have all these little holes so the cow killer can run inside and then just hide and make a home in there. So yeah, that's good. And for the second cool decoration, I got a live scorpion. I'm just kidding. It's actually not a live scorpion. Oh, it's a plastic toy scorpion, but you know, it's a desert, so I think it'll fit pretty well. I'm just gonna put it right in this empty spot there. Take a look at that. Looks pretty deserty.
Now for the plants, and as you know, not many things can live in the deserts since it's so dry, so our only options are succulents and cacti, which of course are able to absorb tons of water.
But I don't have any of those types of plants. I don't know how to say it plural.
So I picked out a nice selection, and while I didn't get as good of a deal as that comment said, it still only costed like $20 for all these plants, which is pretty good. Anyways, to plant these desert plants, I shook off all the excess dirt and planted just the roots in the sand. And in no time, it was done. But the final step to finishing the cow killer's home is insects. And I've got two different species of insects I want to put in here. First of all, you already know I've got springtails, the extremely tiny white creepy bug things. And yeah, there's just like 1,000 of them in here. All these tiny little white things moving. Those are all springtails.
But these are extra important in a desert enclosure like this because every now and then I'm gonna have to go and spray each of the plants down and water them, and the springtails will make sure to eat up any extra mold that grows because of all the moisture. So yeah, they're pretty useful. Let's just dump these guys in here. Yeah, pretty good.
And second of all, I've got these things, which are mealworms.
But the real reason why I'm gonna put these guys in the enclosure is because I'm kind of interested to see if the cow killer's gonna go and just sting them, to be honest. I don't really know if the cow killer eats insects like this, but I guess I'm gonna figure out with you guys once we put them in here.
Well, this desert enclosure is now complete. So I cut the tape and got the container out that supposedly the bug was inside.
Okay, so this is not so promising. It's just a clear plastic container with a paper towel. Well, I guess let me just carefully take the lid off and okay, please, hopefully nothing jumps out at me.
I very carefully used some tweezers to move the paper towel into another container. And then I carefully moved around that paper towel to try and reveal the cow killer.
Oh, I think I see it in there. Wait, do you see that? Hold on, look at this. Oh, that's the cow killer. This may not look like it, but this thing right here is one of the most painful stinging insects, or not even insects, just animals in the entire world.
But I couldn't just move it straight inside of the new enclosure because first I had to build the rest of it on so it wouldn't be able to escape. Because if it did, that would be really bad.
Okay, well it's right here, so I'm just gonna risk it for the biscuit and pick it up super carefully. And drop it. Okay, you're in your new home. Enjoy it.
Soon enough, the bug crawled out of its paper towel and started to explore around his new home. This is 50 Venus flytrap plants. And in this video, I'm gonna put 1,000 flies in the same container as them. Will the sheer number of flies trick the traps, causing them to close? Or are the flies just simply cooked?
Yeah, I don't know, but that's why I bought this.
This is 1,000 fly larvae. Yeah, might look extremely nasty, but over the next week, as long as I feed them food, they should all turn into flies so I can do this test.
So while we wait for these guys to turn into flies, obviously I have all of these Venus flytraps. But I also have tons of other carnivorous plants that you may have never even seen before. Meaning I'm gonna be able to do tons of different tests in this video. It's gonna be super cool.
And for test number 1, I wanna show you guys the smallest Venus flytraps.
Now, I know it may sound stupid, but I promise you how they work and catch insects is actually really insane. Let me show you how they work.
And yeah, it's it's not a joke how small these things are, because when compared to normal Venus flytraps, the jaws are about 10 times smaller. And in fact, they're kind of cute, to be honest.
But since these are minuscule, the normal prey I feed in my videos is not gonna cut it. Yeah, sorry cricket, you get to live another day. That's why instead, I got literally the smallest thing available.
These are flightless fruit flies, which if you've seen my channel before, you know they're pretty much the most useless animal. Cause seriously, bro, how are you a fly that doesn't have the ability to fly? That doesn't make any sense. But anyways, I put the smallest Venus flytraps in the testing enclosure, then I put one of these flies inside to see if he'd get caught. Start the timer. Now this fly didn't waste any time, because it immediately walked straight up to one of the Venus flytrap pots and then started to walk all over the tops of the jaws, absolutely risking his life. You may already know this, but normal Venus flytraps work by having these super tiny trigger hairs inside of them that when a bug or something touches them, it snaps shut. But these traps are obviously the smallest in the world. Because of that, they have extremely small trigger hairs. And I'm talking so small that if I zoom in like 100x on this footage, they're so thin, my camera can't even pick them up. And I guess the trigger hairs were quite literally so thin that every time this flightless fruit fly walked inside the jaw of a trap, the jaw didn't close at all, and the fly was able to just walk out. I mean, it kind of makes sense. These flightless fruit flies weigh about 0.0003 grams. So yeah, I guess the traps quite literally can't even be triggered by how light their weight is.
Yeah, clearly the fruit flies aren't gonna work. So instead, I got the world's smallest cricket instead to test. Let's see if this works any better.
And oh boy, let me just tell you, things were a lot more interesting this time around. Because once again, the cricket walked straight up to one of the trap pots and started climbing all over the tops once again. But this time, quite literally within 30 seconds, the cricket happened to put his face up to the lip of one of the Venus flytraps. You may also already know this, but these plants produce a special kind of nectar around the lips of their jaws to lure insects in like this cricket. And you can see it was working pretty well, because this cricket was just absolutely slurping this nectar up. But he was getting a bit too distracted, because he then stepped into the trap, probably stepping on the micro trigger hairs, which then caused the jaws of it to close. But the cricket was too fast, and he was barely able to make it out with his life. Dang, that was a close call, but you can see how quickly that can all happen. And yeah, don't worry guys, because there's only a few minutes later when the cricket did the same exact thing. He walked up to another jaw, walked straight into it, and yeah, this time the trap closed on him while he was starting to walk out, leaving half of his body now sticking out of the trap. Even though these are the smallest Venus flytraps in the world, they trap insects nearly just as well as the fully grown ones. It's pretty interesting. And yeah, while I wait for those 1,000 flies to hatch so we can do the final test, in the meantime, I want to show you some other insane carnivorous plants that you may have never seen before, with the second one being sundews.
Yep, everyone knows what Venus flytraps are, but not everyone knows what a sundew is, but they're actually pretty cool. Let me show you what they do.
So obviously, like flytraps, sundews are also a carnivorous plant, except instead of having jaws, it has these long stems with these little red hairs on the top of them. But on each of these little red hairs is a special kind of sticky glue it produces that will make it so when a fly or any other insect touches it, it gets permanently stuck because of how sticky it is.
And when an insect gets stuck on here, the trap does something insane to be able to consume the insect, which I'll show you very soon when it obviously traps an insect.
So yeah, I got multiple of these sundew plants, and I even got this slightly different kind of sundew called an octopus plant. That will be cool to see if this can catch any insects as well. So let's get these in the testing chamber.
And for this, I think I'll be using a cricket once again, because they're literally perfect. They can just climb up the side of the stems and yeah, just get stuck. This should be fun to watch. Let's put this dude inside.
So yeah, once again, I just started with one of these guys, but if this guy gets caught fast, I'll be adding way more inside of here. Anyways, this cricket for the first minute kind of just wandered around the walls of the enclosure, but it wasn't long until he started heading towards the sundews. Now you see, the sticky glue that this plant produces is actually a type of nectar, which smells and tastes great to the insects. So yeah, just like how Venus flytraps lure insects in with their nectar, these traps do the same thing, because this cricket then decided to start climbing up the stem. The only thing is though, that he ended up stopping right before the sticky part, and that's actually because of his antenna. You see, crickets have these pretty long antennas that help them navigate and detect danger before running into it, and this guy's antenna actually ended up getting stuck in the sticky nectar part. But using its mouth, it was able to pull the antenna back and then started to lick all the nectar off of it. Yeah, and I'm not kidding, this cricket really just sat here for like 30 minutes, constantly licking his antenna, then putting it back into the sticky nectar, and then licking it back up. He was kind of outsmarting this carnivorous plant and just getting its nectar for free. So I'm not gonna lie, I just tried to push him towards it with my my tweezers since he clearly wasn't gonna do it on his own. And yeah, he just kind of ended up falling off.
Yo, what the heck? I was just trying to record that cricket and I just realized there's a jumping spider in here. Do you see that? It's on the little octopus plant. Is it stuck?
Yeah, this jumping spider just happened to wander into this enclosure by accident. I guess he was just living somewhere in my house. But since he was here, I figured I'd just watch him to see if he would get caught by the traps. And pretty quickly, he started to climb the stems of the trap and got up to the sticky part. But yeah, he was kind of too smart for this trap too and turned around the second he realized it was sticky. But it was pretty cool to watch this guy just jump around the plants. However, he never really ended up getting trapped and he ended up just climbing out of the enclosure.
All right, guys, I'm not gonna lie. This cricket, I've been trying to record him getting eaten for like 2 hours now. And every time right before going on the sticky part, he just stops and cleans his antenna. And yeah, he just turns around and never actually goes on the sticky part. He's too smart for this. So yeah, let me take this guy out.
Instead, I actually just got out the flightless fruit flies again, because apparently this is actually Sundu's favorite insect. And yeah, I just dumped a few on the sand, and it wasn't long until some of them started to climb all over the stems and eventually started getting stuck all over the different sticky parts. I even went and just dumped a crazy amount of these flies all over the top of the Sundew plants to show you guys exactly how cool Sundews really are. Because obviously, now you can see the sticky parts of the plants are just completely covered in flightless fruit flies. Now, if you're wondering how this plant actually eats the flies, well, this footage shows how. As you can see, it uses each of its red hairs to basically curl around the prey. And once all of those curl around it, the stem itself also starts to curl around the prey. This will basically ensure the fly has a 0% chance of escaping, while the plant releases basically an acid to consume it. Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
So yeah, it's pretty cool to see these things work. All these flies are just gonna turn into food for these plants very soon.
Alright, there's still one more major carnivorous plant type that I haven't shown yet. They're called pitcher plants.
Yep, this plant can also eat insects. And actually how it does it is probably the most brutal out of all of them. Let me show you.
Yep, like I said, these are called pitcher plants. And similar to the last plant, they have pretty long stems that go up. But the difference is this time at the top, there's this little trapdoor leaf thing that if you look is actually covering a hole that leads directly down to a pit of acid at the bottom of the stem. Yep, these traps have this little hole here that's lined with a super slippery nectar on the inside. So whenever an insect walks inside, they'll slip into the acid at the bottom, and yeah.
And what's really cool is if you actually look inside of this pitcher plant, since it's kind of small and shallow, you can actually see the pool of acid at the bottom. And it actually looks like there's a couple little flies and stuff in there, which it looks like it's actually already dissolving. So yeah, it'd be cool to see some crickets or something fall in these. Let's test it out.
I didn't even need to use an enclosure this time because I knew this was going to be an extremely fast test. Because immediately after placing the cricket on this first pitcher plant, it started to climb along the sides of the red pitcher. As you can see, the inside of the plant is lined with these downward pointing hairs. This is to make it even more slippery and hard to escape. And yeah, it's kind of funny to see how fast this all happens, but the next time the cricket went to the opening of this plant, it straight up just slipped in right away. Nah, this dude had no clue this plant has evolved over millions of years to just be able to eat them this fast. Yeah, and as you can see on this footage that I recorded on my phone, he was now just sitting at the bottom of this pool of acid. Over the next few days, it'll dissolve him and turn him into nutrients for this plant to grow even stronger and larger. Nice.
And yeah, that's really all there is to these pitcher plants. They're not really the most interesting thing ever. But I actually have some great news, guys, because if you look in this container, you can see many of my flies are starting to hatch.
And that means we can finally start doing some massive scale Venus flytrap tests and eventually test as many flies as I can against all of my Venus flytraps to see who wins. Let's start very simple though with 5 Venus flytraps versus a single fly. And let's see if this fly can get trapped in under a minute. Now I know you may be thinking, bruh, Terra Green, I don't care about one fly, this is boring. Well, don't worry, because this literally only lasted like 20 seconds. Because immediately this fly started to crawl up the side of a pot, and of course he made his way immediately into a jaw, triggered one of the hairs, and it closed directly onto him. Yup, flies are basically the one thing Venus flytraps are the best at catching. I mean, they're called Venus flytraps for a reason.
Anyways, I got the tank where the final test will be taking place, right here, obviously.
And I didn't waste any time. I just got out the flies that I've been hatching, and I put them straight into this enclosure so we could get this final test started. Quickly, I removed the lid and started the timer. Let the test begin. Now, immediately, a couple of the flies started to fly out of the container, and others started to walk out of the sides. Now, there was something weird, though, because while the container had a decent amount of movement in it, plant, only like 10 of the flies were actually leaving the container over the 4-hour time lapse here. Yeah, basically all the flies were staying in there. So I decided to just take the paper towel out that they were all on and tried to just shake off as many as I could onto the Venus flytraps. And obviously, this meant that a few of the flies were now scattered all over the traps and were actually starting to get trapped. But most of them were just being super inactive, barely moving, and not flying. I guess because they were just newly hatched flies and it takes a while for them to become normal.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, guys, this is kind of a fail. Basically, none of the flies are flying around, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish this.
But don't worry, because my YouTube friend Flytrap Films recorded a test with an insane amount of flies super similar to this, and he wanted me to show you it. In it, you can see he has a Venus flytrap plant out, and also a bunch of rotten meat in order to attract the flies. Yeah, and it worked really well, because instantly tons of flies started to gather around this plant. And you guessed it, started to get trapped. I mean, when you have this many flies, it's a given that tons are just gonna get trapped right away. And what's so crazy is that sometimes so many would gather on some of the jaws before they close, causing up to 6 flies to get trapped in the same jaw at the same time. What? Flytrap Films himself said that this is the most flies he's ever seen get caught at once. Also, some bonus footage for you guys. You remember those pitcher plants from earlier? Flytrap Films also did the same test with a massive pitcher plant to show you guys how effective these things are at catching flying insects. And this plant literally just looks like a vacuum cleaner sucking up all the flies. Which in a way, it kinda is, because every time a flying insect flaps its wings above the opening in this plant, it creates a weird kind of vacuum effect with the wind, causing the bug to actually get pulled down into it. And yup, after not too much time, this thing just caught so many flies. And it was literally just starting to overflow. That is probably the craziest performance from a carnivorous plant that I have ever seen. Thank you, Flytrap Films, for letting me show you this footage.